Have you ever popped off a piece of tessera during the grouting or cleaning off process and wondered, what do you do to fix it? In today's video, I'll show you how to repair and finish the grouting of your mosaic so you can get it all done in the same day. Let's get to it. Welcome back, and if you're new here, my name is Julie. And on this channel, we talk about tips, tricks, tools, adhesives, materials, and specific mosaic projects, all to shorten your learning curve when it comes to creating mosaic art. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please consider subscribing. You've tiled your gorgeous mosaic, you've waited patiently for it to dry, and now you're ready to grout. But during the grouting process, a piece came loose. Now, maybe there wasn't enough adhesive behind the tessera. Maybe you were cleaning it off a little too vigorously. Guilty. Or maybe that one piece of tessera, for whatever reason, it didn't fully dry yet. Whatever the case may be, you've now got a piece of tessera that's off of your substrate and you're in the middle of grouting. So what do you do? It happens to all of us from time to time. This is also why it's so important that substrates that require prepping are prepped before you start tiling. But never fear, there's a quick fix for this, and it's going to relieve any sort of anxiety or trepidation about knocking a piece off in the future. So in today's video, we'll go over what to do right after a piece of tessera comes loose during the grouting or cleaning off process, how to secure the loose tessera back into place, and we'll also go over when you can resume grouting. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get started. As I just mentioned, knocking off a piece of tessera happens to all of us from time to time. And it recently happened to me during the filming of another video here on the channel. And it kind of mentally stopped me in my tracks. I can't remember the last time I knocked off a piece of tessera. I was working on creating a glass-on-glass mosaic vase using vitreous glass as the TESSERAE, and I used Lexil as the adhesive. I'll link the video down below in the description in case you'd like to check it out after you're done with this one. The tessera was knocked loose during the process when I was cleaning off the grout from the vase. So before we go over the steps on what to do should this happen to you, let's first talk about why does this happen in the first place? I know in my particular case, it was because I didn't have enough adhesive behind that piece of tessera. It doesn't have to be swimming in the adhesive, but you want to make sure the substrate, adhesive, and tessera are all physically linked. So what does that mean? That means the tessera doesn't necessarily have to be touching the substrate. Let me repeat that. The tessera does not have to be touching the substrate. So you don't have to push your piece of tessera all the way down until it stops on the substrate. But you do want to make sure that you use enough adhesive to grip the substrate and the tessera. In a recent video, I showed you how I needed to build up the TESSERAE so that everything was at the same tile level on the surface of the mosaic. So obviously I needed to use varying heights and amounts of adhesive behind the TESSERAE. Sometimes the TESSERAE touched the substrate if it was a thick piece of TESSERAE, yet there was still enough of a thin layer of adhesive between the two. But more often, I was working with thinner tesserae and had to build things up. You can see that I'm using enough adhesive so that the substrate, adhesive, and tesserae are all physically linked. Another thing to consider is the weight and type of your tessera you're working with compared to the adhesive you're using. In the case of the memory vessel I made here on the channel, I not only had to tape heavy TESSERA in place while it dried, but I also had to use a heavy-duty adhesive. And in this case, I used thin-set mortar. Now, knock on wood, I've never loosened a piece of TESSERA during grouting when using thin-set as the adhesive, but of course now it's going to happen because I've said it out loud. Oh, thin-set, we had a beautiful run, you and me. But yeah, thin-set is a great heavy-duty adhesive for so many types of mosaic tesserae. You want to make sure that your adhesive can handle the type of tesserae you're working with. Another thing to keep in mind is if your substrate needs to be prepped. Substrates such as wood and some unglazed pottery or terracotta, to name a few, should be prepped before you start tiling. Prepping the substrate is good for your adhesive as well as the long-term life of your grout. I've done a few videos on this topic here on the channel, and I'll include links to all of those videos down below in the description in case you'd like to check them out. You'll also want to make sure that you don't mix your grout or thin set too thick for grouting. I've discovered that the consistency of creamy peanut butter works best for me when grouting. If you mix your grout or thin set too thick, you run the risk of popping off a piece of TESSERA during grouting because it's harder to smooth on and push into the grout line. And yes, you guessed it, I've done a number of videos here on the channel all about grout and thin set, including how to mix it up, how to color it, how to tint it, and I'll include a link to the playlist down below in the description so you can check it out. And just as you need to mix your grout or thin set to a desired consistency, you also want to make sure you aren't grouting or cleaning off the grout too vigorously or forcefully. That means not only making sure the grout or thin set is mixed to a workable consistency, but also making sure that when you're waiting to clean off the grout, you're watching the clock to make sure you aren't letting it dry for too long. I'll include a list down below in the description for everything that I used in today's video in case you'd like to do a little experimenting and check things out on your own. Now that we've gone over how to safeguard or protect your mosaic to try and avoid a piece of TESSERA getting knocked off in the grouting or cleaning off process, let's now go step by step in what you should do should this happen. So step number one really is to let out a deep breath and say your favorite curse word. Just kidding, it's really not that bad. Whether you're grouting or cleaning off the grout, the first step remains the same, which is you want to continue with what you're doing. So I put the loose piece to the side and I either continue with the grouting or I clean off the grout. Wherever it is I am in the process. Now, if you're grouting and a piece of TESSERA gets knocked off, don't worry so much about making sure no grout goes into the now open area. You can dig out that grout when you're done grouting the piece. Focus on grouting your mosaic for right now. Remember, grout and thin set all have a window of workability. Once you're done smoothing on the grout and it's sitting there drying for a few minutes, that's the time to dig out any grout that may have filled that open space. And then you'll move on to this next step I'm about to discuss. If you knock off a piece of TESSERA while cleaning off the grout like I did right here on this glass on glass vase, I quickly cleaned off any grout from the loose piece of TESSERA and then continued with what I was doing and getting all of the grout cleaned off the surface of the mosaic. And this goes for the previous example as well if you lose a piece of TESSERA during the grouting process. You want to clean off all of the grout from the tile surface before you proceed to repairing it. Once you've cleaned off all the grout from the mosaic surface, you'll want to clean out any remaining grout in the open space. You can do this with a toothpick like I'm doing here, or a wood craft stick, a razor blade, an X-Acto knife, or even a paper towel. You don't have to clean it out perfectly, but you want to clean it out enough so that the adhesive has enough surface of the substrate to grip onto and attach itself to. Then you'll want to add some adhesive into that open space on your mosaic substrate. In the case of the mosaic I was working on, it was a glass-on-glass mosaic, and I was using Lexol as my adhesive. So I filled the open space with just enough adhesive. And then I put the loose piece of tessera into the open space on top of the adhesive, and I let it sit there and dry for about an hour. Now, it's not going to be totally dry, but it's going to be somewhat dry. Once it's been drying there for a little bit, you can carefully add a little bit of grout to the area around that piece of tessera and gently smooth it on. You want to be careful when you're pushing that grout into the grout line. And when I say gently, I mean gently. And then once I was done grouting the area, I let it sit for 10 to 15 minutes like usual. And then I came back and gently rubbed off the grout like usual. Sometimes I might hold the tessera in place as I gently clean off any extra grout. I still rub back and forth, I just try to be more careful than usual. Because clearly, I like to knock pieces of tessera off during the grouting and cleaning off process. I should also mention that if you'd rather let the newly glued tessera sit and fully dry overnight or longer, you certainly can. This method is for if you'd like to get your mosaic grouted and finished off on the same day. So this would be especially helpful if you're working with, let's say, a custom color or tint of grout that you'd rather not mix up again, or perhaps you didn't write the recipe down and so you have no clue how you got to this color in the first place. It's also helpful if you're on a deadline and you've just got to get your grouting done today. And as you can see, the mosaic vase is good as new and no one knows that I knocked off a piece of tessera during the grouting process. Except for you and I. You and I know that I did that, but nobody else knows. I'll include a list down below in the description of everything that I used in today's video in case you'd like to experiment and check things out on your own. Question of the day, let me know down in the comments if you've ever popped off a piece of tessera, whether it was during the grouting or cleaning off process, and did you fix it that day or did you wait? I'd love to hear. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up as it really does help my channel, and subscribe if you haven't already. Click the bell notification so you never miss a single upload, and let me know in the comments if there's something you'd like me to cover in a future video. I'll see you soon. Bye. My lighting is different today, and I'm wondering if that's good or bad. Oh, scratch that. Scratch that. Let's do that again. Ooh, it's hot. It is so hot. Wow. And I can see I'm talking with my hands. let's do that again because I don't want to be talking with my hands. Well, about this particular subject, and and I will include a link. Easier said than done. Do a little bit of experimenting. Nope, 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 nope. You just couldn't say it smooth enough, could you, girl? No, I couldn't. And did you fix it? Nope, do it again. Okay, all right, we are done. If you're looking for more mosaic inspiration, you can check out one of these 2 videos. Until then, see ya. And I say, thank you. I'll see you soon. See you in the next video. Bye.